he said there's two things that you don't want to do and make this mistake. The first thing is ever buy or invest or own a bar or restaurant. The second thing that he mentioned is about business partnerships. And the statistics with partnerships are equally as dark.
Hey everyone, my name is Ethan DeLeon, and I'm here with our founder and CEO, Jason Duff, and special guest, Brittany Saxton. We want to welcome you to the Friday Small Talk podcast, where we try to share some of the valuable lessons with what we have learned about entrepreneurship, real estate, economic development, and more. The point of this podcast is to bring value for you, the listener, and to create space to learn, talk about what's trending, and inspire others. So, Jason, you want to introduce our guests?
I'd love to, Ethan. No, thank you. It is great to have in our studio today Brittany Saxton. Brittany is the owner of 600 Downtown, which is a brick oven gourmet pizzeria in Bellefontaine, Ohio. Brittany is not only a great friend of mine, she is someone that's really important to the story and the beginnings of Small Nation. Yeah. She's also one of the most humble, hardworking, and just gifted entrepreneurs that I know. She's also a mom, which I think is something to celebrate as also being a business owner. Those are, hard things to juggle: family, life, kids, and she seems to really do it with ease. But Brittany is a 5-time world pizza champion, two-time world record holder, and she's also been on the Food Network on Guy's Grocery Games. So if you know Guy Fieri, he has this, he's got multiple shows on the Food Network, but Guy's Grocery Games is one of my favorite to watch because it's like high stress. They throw you into the grocery store. He gives you kind of crazy ingredients and recipes, and you got to figure it out. And Brittany got second place out of 4 international pizza chefs.
So I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so she is a force here in downtown Bellefontaine, and it's awesome to be able to have her as a guest on our show today.
Yeah, welcome. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, well, I just gonna say, and I get even a little emotional, talking about this. 600 Downtown really was the first project that we undertook here in downtown Bellefontaine. You have to understand, at the time when we began, the town was in a really desperate space. Mm-hmm. We had 80% of the first floors in the downtown were vacant and empty. There really wasn't a significant reason to come to Bellefontaine, and you could kind of see on people's faces just like they were sad. This was not a place that people were proud of. And as I was talking with folks, we had acquired our first building. It was right across from our courthouse, on the square and on Main Street, where there was 14,000 cars a day that were passing by. When I would ask people, what do you want to see downtown, food came up almost in every conversation. They would talk about restaurants that were in other towns that they would travel to or see, and when I would ask them, well, what kind of food, that's where, people started having a lot more ideas and answers. What if we had a great place that was a sit-down dining restaurant? What if a great place that served beer or wine? Because there really weren't a lot of great restaurants that also served alcohol. But I had, I'm a foodie, so I love to travel to other towns to eat food. And I had traveled to Kenton and Rushsylvania and eaten at Michael Angelo's Pizza. And those restaurants were founded by Michael Shepard, which Michael is a huge name in the pizza industry. And I would go up and eat the pizza, and what was so great about it, he would describe what went into making it. Mm-hmm. And, that's the other thing I think people care about today, is what kind of ingredients are going into the food that they're eating. But also was the experience, the way I was treated from the serving staff, when I pick up pizzas to go, making sure all the sauces were in the right place and making sure when I got home the product was still quality. Michael had the business really dialed in. Mm-hmm. And when we wanted to see a restaurant open in town, he was one of the first people that I went to say, would you ever consider expanding? And he smiled back and kind of laughed, and he was really busy in the kitchen that day, but was clear to say no.
Yeah.
And the the thing that I kind of didn't like give up on, like I was disappointed hearing that no, but I kind of came back and said, well, what are other things I could maybe share with him that he would take that time to come see this space? So when you walk into the building that we first began renovating, it had all these great architecture details that were hidden underneath the walls and the ceilings. Like the tin ceilings that were in this building from 1890 were original.
Wow.
And they didn't look great when you first kind of see it. And I also, like, we give a lot of tours here in downtown Bellefontaine, and I bring a lot of investors and mayors and other leaders from other parts of the country because they want to kind of understand the methods that we have taken to revitalize the town. And I also say it's like finding those undercover hidden gems, and a lot of times it's your history, and a lot of times it's architecture. So I had pictures of these tin ceilings, and it was helping Michael see what the potential could be. And I took them up there. Again, restaurant was really busy. He said, "You're back again." I said, "I love your pizza. I want to experience it and tell me about what's new in the menu." And I ordered something, and I got him to look at these photos. And he's like, "Well, those tin ceilings, wow, those are pretty cool. I don't have anything like that in my other two restaurants. It would be neat to have the character and the architecture in the space." So my next question back with him was, would you ever consider, like, please come down and look at Bellefontaine? And he said, no. That was like no number 2. And I like sharing this lesson with other people, is that as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, you're going to hear no a lot of time in life. And one of my mentors like coached me with that, because if you're I believe everyone at some level, you have to learn how to sell. Whether that's selling yourself or something that you're passionate about or an idea, like you have to communicate why what you do or what's important to you is significant. And so my mentor said that no is just a delayed version of yes. You just have to keep asking the question other ways. So I went back at him and I said, "Michael, like, I know you're really busy, but what are you doing next Tuesday?" Or actually, it was a Monday because he was closed. There was one day a week that the restaurant was closed, and that was on Mondays. And so I said, "What are you doing next Monday?" And he said, "Well, you've been a good customer. You're persistent. I'm going to come look at this." So he came in.
Pizza.
Listen, I wish he would have brought a pizza, but he didn't. But like, he came and we walked through this building, and I think that's when something clicked. Like, the day we were there, literally the mayor was walking up and down the street and shook his hand and said, "Listen, if you come here, I really want to do everything I can to help you open up and help you be successful."
Wow.
And I think it was putting the right team together. We work with a local bank to get the financing to do the build out. We found a contractor that took kind of Michael's hand sketches, and we worked with an architect to lay it out. But that's where what I would say the beginnings of Small Nations started, is when those conversations solidified to a business deal, and that Michael, he was able to open.
Yeah.
So the restaurant opened up, and I want you to think about this. When the pizza place was announced to coming to the downtown, the announcement in the news and the social media, how do you think the community perceived that? I'm asking you that, Ethan. Like,
probably not great.
Well, this is what you just have to deal with in life, is like people like to criticize, condemn, and complain.
Yeah.
And, one of the oldest books that I have fallen in love with is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he kind of talks about in the book, is like, those are like the cruxes of what most people do. And that does not earn you the credibility, the influence, the character of really what the currency is in life. Yeah. So it's not, we already had 13 other pizza places in town. So the hate,
smokes.
Well, that's the thing. The hate was,
no wonder people didn't.
well, that's the thing. The hate was, this is not a novel idea.
Yeah.
Downtown Bellefontaine is dead. There's no parking. All the common things that the naysayers like to say. But when Michael opened up and put 4 deck brick ovens and started baking the pizza at 600 degrees, and as people were dining, eating, and experiencing this food, like, it started like wildfire, gaining this reputation that this is one of the nicest pizzerias, not only in the region, maybe the state. maybe even the country.
Which is really saying something coming out of a community that does have that many. What year is this for context?
So probably about 2006, 2007 is when some of the planning started with this. But I think the restaurant, Brittany, you might have to clear, opened up 2011? 2011. So, some of this planning, and again, it took time once you acquired the real estate, get the planning, get it done. But like once they got open, that was a really big piece of it. And here's the thing that most people have forgotten, but it happened, is that after being open for about 6 months, Michael came back to me and said, hey, we're closing down lunch.
Oh, wow.
I gotta be honest with you, like when he shared that, like my heart sunk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Michael, why would you close down lunch? And he said, I do not have enough qualified staff that can create the quality product and experience that I expect. And if I can't do that, I'm not going to be open during those hours. So I'm going to stay open for dinner, for evenings and weekends. But that was the first time that I kind of realized that maybe some of those naysayers might be right. But I'm thankful because what Michael did is he invested in his people, and he had an assistant manager working another store that he knew could be the person to come in and turn around and change it. And that assistant manager was Brittany Saxton.
Enter Brittany.
So at the time, I was actually working all 3 of the stores. I
Oh
would
my.
start in Kenton, go to Rushsylvania, and then I would go to 600 for the evening shift. And so I couldn't do all of those hours anymore, and I couldn't be here during lunch to make sure it was successful. So we just closed for lunch, rehired the whole new team, and retrained them from green light. So it was a great time.
Wow. Jeez. So can you speak to us maybe a little bit about like where the restaurant is today and what kind of exciting things you guys have going on?
Yeah, so since I took over ownership in 2016, 2017 we opened a patio. The patio seats 32 people. 2018 we opened Bellefontaine. So we have a 125 person event space in the back of 600. It was really convenient because we were able to punch through and extend out our liquor license and create this beautiful wine room where we can now host larger parties, weddings, graduations, and all those fun things.
Wow, that's exciting. And you guys just went out and competed, right?
Yes, so we just got home from Vegas a couple weeks ago. The boys were able to compete on the baking division and in the tossing division, which is where I got all my awards and world records. So Nate, who tosses acrobatics and does some of the largest and fastest, and then Dalton, who comes up with a lot of creative content for our kitchen, both went out there and had a great week in Vegas. So
wow, that's
Can I
awesome.
just share why that matters is that, the history of the restaurant is not just making great food and not just creating a quality experience, but like they focus on competing and they train in acrobatics. And I didn't even know what acrobatics were until I watched one of their performances where it's like a sport. I mean, there are competitions around the country where they take dough and they do performances and shows that are creative, funny, high energy. And Brittany happens to be on a team of people that compete, the World Pizza Team or World Pizza Champions, right, Brittany?
Yes.
So that group is an international group that competes in, there's different categories in the competition. You want to share some of those, Brittany?
yeah, so we have fastest tossing. We have on the one side, there's fastest tossing. There is the acrobatics. There's the triathlon. And then on the other side, there's the whole baking division. So you got the pan pizzas, the gluten-frees, the Neapolitans, traditionals, non-traditionals, and there's 85 competitors in each of the baking competitions. And then on the other side, there's 20 to 35 competitors who are on the tossing side. And it's just 2 days full of people trying their best to be the best pizza maker of the year.
So when you walk into 600's dining room, you'll see on the wall all of these trophies and medals. And I started reading them. And here's where it matters in terms of the food is that many of the menu items, you're going to see a sticker on the menu that says award winning. One of the pizzas, one of the managers and also really our culinary in-house expert at 600 is Dalton Cornell. And Dalton went out to Las Vegas and designed a pizza that is now named the Mad Hatter. So Brittany, give us a little bit of a teaser. It is like one of a kind. What is special about the Mad Hatter?
It's things you would never think of. And that's kind of what our pizza is based on. It's outside the box pizza, gourmet pizza. So we think of it as a plate. Your dough is a plate. So it can become anything. So the Mad Hatter is extra virgin olive oil with shredded mozzarella, fresh mozzarella. It comes with fig jam, prosciutto, balsamic glaze, and some shredded Parmesan on top of that. And so it's sweet and it's salty, and it's a whole bunch of flavors you would never expect to come together the way they did. And it's a beautiful presentation.
I think I remember my parents just recently moved out to the area, and when I came and ate at the restaurant for the first time, I was like, what is this? And then you guys have that pizza with the potato chips and stuff on it too. And I was like, what kind of pizza place is this? And then I was pretty skeptical at first, but then I tried some and I was like, oh my gosh. And then it quickly became, a restaurant. If we have people coming in town now, like my extended family, whenever they come, like they know 600, like to come, and like that's where we're going to, go out to eat. So
absolutely.
Awesome. And we didn't know in the beginning that that's how this would evolve, but like the first was solving a need that the local community had. And when, Michael and Brittany and the team, kind of transitioning, Michael a little over 5 years ago, recognized and saw that Brittany had a lot of skills and talent and ambition. And he kind of came to us at Small Nation and said, hey, like I want to sell my business. And I want to see it be successful, and the legacy that's been created, see it go on. And so we met with Brittany, and she expressed an interest of stepping into being that owner. And at the time, like I was, asking her questions like, do you have ideas to enhance? And what was so amazing to me is that she came with this list prepared to say, I am so excited to take this good foundation and build upon it. And you heard her mention earlier, it was implementing the outdoor dining. So today, coming through COVID, like restaurants have outdoor dining. You have to understand, Brittany started innovating and doing this 5 years ago. Yeah. And what's really awesome, partnering up with Small Nation, like we built an outdoor dining patio, working with our city, building it in the public right away. Like this is stuff that was at the time unheard of, innovative, and even that, like we've also created private dining experiences in the restaurant. So, we had an empty space that was right next to her pizzeria, and came across thinking about what would be good to complement pizza. And what comes to my mind was ice cream. And again, just knowing kind of the food scene, we had fallen in love with the story and the brand of Witt's Frozen Custard. The Whitmans started that brand in Granville, Ohio. And what's great about Witt's is the custard is made fresh in the store every day. They have a rotating weekly flavor. They have pints and quarts of ice cream, or I should say custard, strike that, custard, in their cases to go. And so we found a franchisee that said, I will come take the tour, met with Brittany, experienced the 600 pizza, and quickly said, I want to be a part of downtown Bellefontaine. So Witt's Frozen Custard opened up, but what it happens in a lot of downtown buildings is they're very long and narrow, so they didn't need the 4,000 square feet that was in that space next to a restaurant. They only needed a part of that square footage. So Witt's went in the front, and it gave Brittany and I the opportunity to discuss how could you use that space to enhance 600, make money, and also make the town better? Like, what could you solve? And she kind of brought up to me and said, events. And she's like, Jason, I want to expand my wine list because I'm like learning more about wine myself. And I think that my clients and my customers would enjoy having better qualities experiences with wine. So she literally brought these images of a wine cave and said, Jason, can you do this?
Yes. So
I mean, it's just a little bit of an ask, right? Create a wine cave in Bellefontaine, Ohio.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, so it was special to me because 600 has a vibe. I wanted it to be more than the 600 vibe, but also still fit with the vibe. So when you hear people coming into Bellavino, some people will be like, I went up into the cave. Some say I went down into the cave, and it's all optics of illusion because you're on the same level as 600. So it's fun just hearing people walk into that space and be awed by what they had no clue was there. It's a secret. It's a secret cave. And that is the view you get when you walk in there.
And just to comment, for those of them that have not experienced it, you walk in and have a great dinner, but towards the back of the building like she was saying, there is a barrel ceiling with stone-lined walls and beautiful, rich woodwork kind of throughout. And then there's this lounge area with comfortable leather furniture and just beautiful amenities. We partnered up with our local furniture store, Tanger's Furniture, which is another downtown business, and purchased all the furniture in the lounge area from a local downtown business that Mandy Osterfeld designed. Like it created just a beautiful space, and that. It's kind of literally walking into old world. And I
was going to say, what other like old downtowns at this time, like has that kind of feel in any kind of...
I would like to say that I think we might be the only wine cave in Ohio. And I think that's the other thing we're trying to create now is, a lot of people aren't able to travel out of state or maybe aren't interested. I mean, getting on an airplane today is not, for a lot of folks, a great experience.
Yeah.
But if we can create those amenities, those experiences here and bring some of the finest wines from Napa Valley, if we can explore the great value deal wine that you can get from Oregon, like our list is something that we're proud of. And we're always looking for feedback to grow because the taste of our customers is something that really matters too. And the other thing that Brittany has been working deeper on that I just really admire is coaching the customers when they come in to say, if you order this pizza, this wine pairs best with it. And I and my culinary team are like finding those perfect pairs.
Absolutely. Origin stories are something that's always been super interesting to me. So like we have the Matchbook Cellars wines right now where their winery was literally built because their sons accidentally burnt down their vineyard.
Wow,
and so
what a
it's
story.
called Matchbook because...
I mean, that's a way to take a dark situation and actually make it positive, right?
Yeah, they make amazing wines. And we have the other one out of Oregon. It's a Pinot Noir, which I love Oregon's Pinot Noirs. But it was created out of a VW, like, RV.
Wow.
They parked on an empty plot of land and created a winery. So,
jeez, that's awesome.
The other thing I love about 600 is its menu design.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you go into a restaurant, one thing I always try to do is ask the server, like, I've never been to your restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes servers can do a really amazing job of making you feel welcome, asking you the question, is this are you new to our restaurant? Is it your first time in? And if you ask that question, if someone says, no, I'm a regular customer, the next question I always like to train servers on is to say, well, what brought you back? Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that we hear a lot of what brings people back is our appetizers. So you cannot go to 600 without ordering garlic knots or pepperolis.
yes.
Tell us about those, Brittany.
So our dough's made in-house every day. It's a 2-day cold fermentation. But garlic knots are these super, like, fluffy balls of amazing. They're
Amazing.
they're covered in garlic butter, and you get your choice of dipping sauce, but they're beautiful, and so are the pepperolis.
Yeah.
Same process, except for they're stuffed with like cheese and pepperoni.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we use the best pepperonis you can find. They come out of Columbus, Ohio, actually.
Wow.
Ezo, give them a shout out. Yeah,
Ezo pepperoni.
Yeah.
I've only ever used Ezo pepperoni in my whole 20 years of being in the industry. But they're stuffed full of all this amazing goodness, and they're gooey and they're huge. And when you bring them to the table, people really don't. That's an appetizer that's built for a meal.
Yeah.
So they're huge, and it's awing.
The other thing that's great, and I'm a sauce guy. Ethan, do you like sauces?
Oh yeah.
And I think that's another thing that's trending in food right now is that people, once they order something, they want to know, what can I dip this in? Okay. And this is the other thing that I love about 600 is that they have lots of options. So the marinara, like you can go to most pizzerias and find marinara.
Yeah, sure.
What you'll find though is most of it is the packs that come from the factory in New Jersey that's been sitting in a warehouse for 2 years.
Lovely.
Not at 600 downtown. Like they make their marinara fresh in the store. And the same thing is, of course, I love ranch dressing. They have, the pesto.
Yeah.
So Do you like pesto? Some people,
Yeah.
pesto's a love or hate thing, but
I was honestly surprised by how much I like it. Like, that on pasta by itself. Are you not a pesto person?
Not basil pesto. I actually do not like basil pesto at all.
So we have a war about this. I think I'm like, load up the pesto, and she's like, that's not my thing. But then, the garlic butter, of course that's good. And then honey mustard.
Yeah.
So you may surprise, honey mustard is one of the newest things that's come on the menu because people are now wanting kind of a sweet profile.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing that her newest menu design has, which I think is brilliant. You can order a sampler of all the sauces, meaning that when you get the garlic knots,
sauces, interesting. Okay.
So you can order garlic knots. It comes standard with 2 sauces, but then if you just I can't make a decision. There's so many options. Get the sampler.
Mm-hmm.
Try them all. And I think that's the thing I like about 600. So we start there with the menu design. She's really intentional about creating great appetizers.
Mm-hmm.
But then you kind of scan the pizzas, the salads, there's pasta dishes. It really is kind of walking through that. But she has her story up there and a picture of herself, which she's always very humble, but I think people want to know when they buy something who's behind the brand.
Yeah.
And that's Brittany. And so that's kind of cool. And then their specialty pieces. Tell us about crust profiles. Why does having different crust matter in pizza?
To me, it's super edgy almost because a lot of places don't do that. We make our dough in-house. So we have our New York style, which is simple pizza.
Yeah.
We have our Detroit style, which is very big in the industry, and it came out probably about 6 or 7 years ago. Sean Randazzo is from Michigan, and he created this amazing Detroit style pizza. So this backstory of Detroit is actually mom's way back in building cars days used the Ford pans that they were used to sort parts to create these pizzas for their kids after school.
Really?
So they would start their dough in the morning, proof it up, and then bake it off when the kids got out of school, and that's what they ate.
Wow.
During the Depression.
Yeah.
So now that's huge in our network, and so it's about 3 inches deep, and there's this caramelized cheese edge around it, red sauce on top of it, and it's delicious. It's heavy, and it's just this gorgeous presentation of a beautiful pie.
Yeah.
And then our Sicilian's light and airy, same backstory. Moms made it for their kids after school. But it's rectangle, just like a Detroit, except for it's not as dense. You think it's going to be a heavy pizza, and you eat half of it, and you can eat all of it. You could literally eat the whole Sicilian.
That's awesome. So talking about between the wine room and, you're talking about these stories behind these crust profiles and pizza. I didn't know we'd be getting into pizza this much, but now you guys are making me hungry. But I know there's a bit of a cool story behind the wine room as far as that ended up taking you all the way to Washington, D.C. Yeah. So can we maybe touch on that a little bit and tell that story?
Yeah, so we got Witt's Frozen Custard open, and then we were starting planning on what we're going to do in the backspace, and that was going to be the Bellefontaine Events and Wine Room. There's a program that kind of came out after the 2017 Jobs and Tax Cut Act that was called the Opportunity Zone, and there are 5,800 census tracts in the country that qualify for a tax incentive related to capital gains and related to making improvements to qualified opportunity zone properties. And it just happened that the building that we were renovating was in the qualified opportunity zone.
Wow.
And we were one of the first projects in the country, especially in a small town, to be able to apply and use that tool to invest and open up Bellefontaine Events and Wine Room. And at the time, we didn't know how big of a deal that was until at the Small Nation office, I look on our caller ID and it says the Whitehouse. And I'm like, first off, I think it's maybe a robocall. I mean, it was a busy day.
And I'm like,
I normally just pick it up and hang up the phone because I don't like the robocalls or asking for money or can you join this campaign, press 7 for this. Well, the number called back. And so I pick it up and, say, Small Nation, this is Jason.
So if you're trying to prank call Jason, call twice.
That's one of the secrets. But they said, we're calling from the President Trump's team, and would you be available? We understand that you use the Opportunity Zone. Is Mrs. Saxton there? And at the time, Brittany wasn't in our office, but I said I'd be happy to give you her number and happy to connect you with her. And so we did that handoff, and basically the question was for us and for Brittany, like, can you be in the White House? This is on a Tuesday. Can you be in the White House tomorrow, Wednesday, by noon? And at the time, we vetted it out. We found out it's the real deal, and I immediately start looking at flights, and we called one of our friends who is a big advocate and supporter of small business. Her name is Karen Kerrigan. Karen leads an organization called the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Council. She is a true champion for small business owners and has been following the work that we're doing here in Bellefontaine, Ohio. And so I call Karen for advice, and she's like, listen, I will help you. We will find a way to get you a hotel room down here, and I will meet you, because she's very experienced with the White House and has done these kinds of experiences a lot more than us. So we flew down there, met Karen, and got to go to the Rose Garden.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. So they called my cell phone, and I was like, Washington, D.C. And now every time Washington calls my phone with a spam call, I'm like,
is it my time again?
No, it never is. It's always spam. But we had like 12 hours to prepare a speech, get to the White House. And
so you had to speak?
Yeah, I was up.
We didn't know that until probably an hour before.
What in the world?
Yeah.
So they just asked you if you could come. That's all they said?
Yeah. They just, can you be present for the speech for President Donald Trump? And of course, I could.
Yeah.
We'll be at the White House in the Rose Garden. That'd be great. But so we had to come up with a speech about how thankful I was for using the program. And yeah, I mean, yes, I'm thankful for the program. Is amazing,
yeah.
But I wasn't ready.
Made your dream come true.
Well,
wow.
So I will tell you
No
a
pressure.
behind the scenes story, because she
became stage mom.
honestly, I grew up in music and theater, and I like to share this story with people that know me well. I was a pretty shy kid, and luckily I had a music teacher in middle school and high school that kind of pushed me out on stage, and I had more experience and practice of being more comfortable in groups of people. And I recognized in Brittany the younger version of myself. So she's right. I kind of went into stage mom mode and like, or stage dad, whatever you want to say. Like I said, okay, so here we're going to talk about posture, like giving her the crash course. And next, Brittany, we're going to talk about diction, and we're going to talk about, remember the projecting things?
Yeah, this lady thought he was being mean to me in the hallway, and she's like, "Are you okay?"
Oh my gosh.
Okay, we were in a hotel hallway, and I'm practicing. Brittany, we're going to use our stage voices today.
Oh my gosh.
And you can, for listeners that are listening, you can tell like she's got this like beautiful, quiet, timid voice. And I like, Brittany, like let's punch it, Brittany. So, but like I was so proud of her because she got up on stage. And what was crazy is President Trump said, "This is Brittany Saxton from 600 downtown in Bellefontaine, Ohio."
Wow.
And he's like, "She makes some of the best pizzas in the country." And then he asked her, he's like, "Brittany, where's my pizza?" We of course, we were not able to bring a pizza to the White House that day, but she said, "Yeah, I'd love to have you back to Bellefontaine, and I would treat you with a pizza." But she took, 2 to 3 minutes just to share how important the Opportunity Zone was to help with the project and help make it a reality. And just to acknowledge, in the audience that day, the entire Trump administration team. So you had Secretary Mnuchin, you had, Jared and Ivanka were there. The whole, the whole kit and caboodle, and many congressmen. We had a chance to, speak with a number of our Ohio representatives that were there that day.
Wow.
But it was pretty surreal. And I think we came back energized to then help other towns and communities and businesses understand how to use the Opportunity Zone and how they also could benefit from that program.
Yeah, that's awesome. And going back to the story thing, like now that's a part of 600's story, like now, like you're saying how cool it is about these other stories, but that's your story and like the story of 600. So that's why I kind of wanted to share that, going into this podcast, and it's become an important piece to, small nation. And like, I don't know. Also, I just want to touch on like, I feel like we totally skipped over. Last podcast we talked about how we kind of where we started and where we are now, but how like this is restaurant ownership we're talking about now, or like managing a restaurant. Like I'm sure there were some learning curves.
There were two things. My grandfather was a major influence and mentor in my life, and he had created a number of businesses over the years, and I just remember him saying to me when we would have lunch and talk about just knowledge, he said there's two things that you don't want to do and make this mistake. The first thing is ever buy or invest or own a bar or restaurant.
Wow.
And part of that advice is because the statistics behind the failure rate of bars and restaurants are extremely high. They operate on very small margins. They're very people and labor intensive businesses. And the nature of having alcohol around is it can be a slippery slope with depression and addiction. There's a lot of dark sides to that. The second thing that he mentioned is about business partnerships, and the statistics with partnerships are equally as dark. I mean, most partnerships fail, and it's because you're not prepared to have the difficult conversations up front of what if it doesn't work out, how to exit it. There's inequalities that form. There's different personalities.
Yeah.
So what's been crazy today is I recognize that advice is applicable to the statistics, but I've also recognized there's ways intellectually, spiritually, emotionally finding the right partnerships. And I think between Brittany and I, like we really complement each other. We're good in different areas. And also we have done personality assessments. We recently did the working genius assessment, and we found that my working genius is her working frustration. So sometimes we didn't understand. Okay, we didn't understand this until we took the assessment, because we go into meetings and like I'm the idea guy.
Yeah.
Like I would like, Brittany, let's innovate this and let's do this, and like her working frustration is like that. She hates like being in the idea phases.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, like the thing about owning a restaurant is I feel so much more confident because she's one of those people that gets up every day, loves her industry, loves making her product, loves her team. Like that's the thing that I don't think people know enough about her and about business owners. Like she invests in her people, and believes in them, and mentors and coaches them, because that's really how she's a business owner. She is someone that did that for her. But no, today like we are partners in the restaurant. Brittany is the majority owner in the helm. We just have a small stake in it, but I think we could say that it's been one of the best things that we together have ever done.
That's awesome.
Working Genius definitely made us understand why sometimes they're not always the best meetings.
And dude, can I tell you that's the other thing? You do not want to have meetings that you're like, oh, we agree and that's easy, and you move like we have,
you need some
Well, and can I tell you what I like about her?
friction.
As I've gotten older, and you get a little grumpy, you get a little obstinate. Like there's things like where and I need someone in my life that will also challenge me, intellectually, or like just with, one of the best exercises is Brittany. It's very easy for me to see things on front of the house kinds of activities. Like I very confident in a host, server, customer service kind of role. And then like I can look at a situation and say, well, why aren't we seating all these tables when she explains and knows the back of the house and the kitchen so well? There are lots of reasons in what the wait times are for food or what the quality of the food is. So what she did for me, and this I think was a great thing, she said, you're going to come and we're going to train you. You're going to work in the kitchen with me.
Wow. That's awesome.
Can I tell you, I have a whole different appreciation for back of the house. And honestly, it is one of the most hardest and one of the like most incredibly challenging, demanding jobs that you can experience. But it's so the rush of it is incredible. I mean, and again, she and her team get up every day and do that. And I think that's the other thing that I'm really proud of what we've accomplished is that we're not just investing in real estate. We're investing in people. We're investing in business. Right. And by having knowledge to know how to be her 911 plan, and we had a lot of this during COVID. Like, she would call and say, listen, I need someone just to bus tables tonight.
Yeah.
And part of the humility, like, I can bus tables.
Yeah.
I have no problem doing it.
Not above that.
You can't be. I mean, you if you're going to see your town or your community or your businesses be successful, there is not a job that you need to know all the jobs, and you need to know like what goes into doing them, and then respecting people for, how hard it is to make sure those bathrooms get clean. Yeah. And why that matters.
Bet the meetings went a little bit differently after that.
Well, they did. And I think part of it is like, it's just, and I think that vice versa with Brittany, like I am teaching her about real estate. Yeah. And, she has dreams and ambitions now beyond just her first restaurant of maybe growing and expanding into other restaurants. And she wants to also build her family and her, her net worth and her goals. And I think that that's part of the other thing is that money and energy are the same things. And I'm not bashful about this. Like, I want to see business owners and see people that sacrifice so much. I want them to be rewarded for that. Yeah. And money is one of those metrics. And again, just bragging on Brittany and 600, it is, it's successful. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a very successful business, and it should be because of the amount of hard work and energy that's been put in there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before we close up, I want to ask about one more experience. I know this is something else we just kind of brushed over like slightly, but you're talking about Guys Grocery Games. I mean, this is the show that my mom would watch all the time, and like it was always on at our house. But yeah, can you tell us like what did you do? What was that experience like?
That was another one of those phone calls where I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, I bet.
They called and they're like, we've been researching you and we think you'd be a great addition to our TV show. I was like, Diners and Dives, because that'd be awesome. Yeah. And they're like, no, Guys Grocery Games. And I'm not a trained chef by any means. Mm-hmm. Outside of pizza ovens, I didn't grow up cooking. I love cooking now, but it was something that I have never really done. So I called Jason and I'm like, Jason, I have to go to the Food Network and cook in a real kitchen and do all this stuff. So Jason's like, come to my house, Super Bowl Sunday. You're going to cook with Chef Shane. He's going to teach you all this stuff. Yeah. And so we did like a power class, which is one thing I'm so grateful for having Jason as a business partner and a friend, because no matter what my problem is, he's always answering the phone.
That's great.
So we trained and we made crusts out of crackers and Cheetos and everything, because one of the things that you always know is he's taking away your dough. Like they're going to give you
he's
going
to make it hard.
Yeah. But there's going to be one that's gone.
Learn the stakes of the game.
Yeah. And I don't know how to chef. Like,
yeah. And this is the thing that, just hearing like she, and she said it, but like Brittany has not worked on other commercial kitchen equipment. She is an expert on a pizza oven, but you look at the show and you see this gigantic with commercial kitchen with grills and stoves and all of this stuff. So, I have, you meet people that have incredible skills, and I met Chef Shane Whitaker. He owns Chef's Table Columbus, which is this amazing service, and he has a network of chefs that do in-home dinner parties. Oh, wow. What's so great about him is that he's a researcher at Ohio State by day, and he was not culinary trained through a professional school. He is self-taught. But I met him at Whole Foods, and he was working in the restaurant at the Trattoria, which is this beautiful restaurant. It was in Dublin, Ohio, Whole Foods. And every Tuesday night, like, I love the eclectic mix of the Whole Foods people that were there, and I'm eating his food. He's telling me about, how it's made and the flavor profiles. And I kept bending his ear and like, this is so good. You should start a business. and that's kind of one of my things. People like, I am like encouraging people, to do that side gig.
Because that's a lens that you view everything through.
I just think that's a way to take your gifts and like do more of what you love to do. Get it, yeah. And so, he now today like has a thriving business that is doing these in-home dinner parties. But what most people don't know is behind a lot of our success and renovating and growing new restaurant concepts here in Bellefontaine, Chef Shane, his knowledge and his DNA is weaved through a lot of it because he's coaching, mentoring, and developing a lot of us. And so when I did that 911 call to him, it's like, we've got to help Brittany get trained in a crash course of what it takes a chef 4 years to learn in school. We're going to do it on Super Bowl Sunday together. And we did. We went to the grocery store. We did these simulations. We ate a lot of interesting things that day. Some things like we're like, so what do you think of this? And I'm like, this is a Cheeto pizza base crust. Like, this is really cheesy.
It was so salty.
I tried to put on a good face to say, when someone says, this is interesting.
Yeah, that's not a couple.
But the good thing is, like, and again, can you imagine, out of 4 international pizza chefs, she got second place. And truthfully, if you watch the show, and I encourage you to find
I need to find that episode somewhere.
Everyone says she was robbed. I mean, you go on social media and read what people were saying. They're like, they were totally in for seeing Brittany win.
How long was 600 open for at that time?
6 years, 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and what was great is that we had a big watch party at the restaurant.
I was going to say, so you're pretty established. So you're
the whole town, if not the whole state was like rooting for her, which I think was really cool to see. And just kind of tying that together, like the pride now, and that's kind of where 600 was the beginning. And I think through this podcast, you're going to hear so many other real, raw, stories of like the beginnings of saving an underrated town and making it a best in state destination. Like, the secret has been those steps and those processes and, people like Brittany. And I think that you're going to see many of her, gifts and abilities play itself out in the next version of what's going to be happening here in town and other towns.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
Not a lot. I think we covered most of it.
Awesome.
Well, that's great job hosting today. Like, if you can say that our guest is like, no, we got all that covered.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Whether it's true or not, we'll see.
Well, I guess I'm going to ask you a question. So, what is next? I always want to ask the question. What's next as you're thinking about with 600? Some new things you're maybe working on the menu and new things that you're excited about?
We definitely are behind the scenes right now, working on new menu design. My goal is to never have our menu become stagnant. It's been a couple of years since we've added anything super crazy. So we have some hot honey pizza coming,
which I tried the other day, and it's fantastic.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful pie. And that's one of the things. I love creating simple yet elegant, easy things.
Yeah.
And this one, the flavor profiles are there, the color content's there.
Yeah.
And it just is a presentation. And then we always think about growth and what could come next and how more we could grow our business. And, 600's my love. It is the building. I love the building. I love its story. I love all the things behind it. But soon our business is going to grow so much that we need to think about what is next.
Yeah.
And so those are always things that are in the back of my mind. Like, where do we go? What concept could we do that's similar but not exactly the same? Because you'll never get 600 out of another location. The ovens are what makes it. They're seasoned and they have 10 years of burnt pizzas and dreams in that thing.
Dreams.
So those flavors will stay there forever.
Yeah.
And so we have to really think about how we want our next concept to be different. I think one of the things that interests me the most is wood fire, but trying to figure out how to really do that. That's another skill set to train and get people who know how to do it.
I am so not well versed in the pizza world.
Well, this means you just have to do more research and development and eat your way through our menu.
Good thing I know somebody, right?
Yeah, like you take some pretty pictures, so I can always feed you.
All right, it sounds like a good plan. All right, Jason, kind of like we did with our first episode. Is there one golden nugget kind of from today's episode, or like I said, it doesn't have to be completely related with this, but just leave us with one little thing before we close out here?
I think that mentorship matters, and the success of the 600 story started with Michael Shepard and his work in seeing Brittany and coaching her and developing her, and that's where Brittany really shined and stepped up, and now she is mentoring, coaching, and developing people on her team. And
it's a legacy.
It is a legacy, and I also think like it's so important for us to teach and share and grow. And it's also a reminder for those, if you don't have those kind of people in your life, to seek them out. Because it takes courage to say to someone that maybe is older than you, or maybe has more experience or more success, whatever it is, just to be able to reach out and say, I admire you and I would love the chance to get to know you better and maybe ask you a few key questions of some of my dreams and ideas and ambitions, and to see if you have any advice to share.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and checking out the Small Talk podcast. And you can find us anywhere that you listen to your podcast, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and even YouTube. I hope you were able to pull out some of the value from this conversation, and we hope to see you in the next one. And if you haven't subscribed already and are looking for more of this kind of content, be sure to check out the Friday Small Talk newsletter that goes out every week. Stay tuned to Small Nation social media and keep up with everything that is happening there. There are lots of exciting projects in the works, and until next time, this is Small Talk with Jason Duff signing off.